the belief on the part of the lay public and legislators that there is protection afforded laboratory animals is a fond supposition, and let me assure the audience that that's all it is. The Federal Animal Welfare Act was passed in 1966. The Department of Agriculture was assigned the responsibility of enforcing that act. This is pertinent, Marty.
I hope, can you be
the Department of Agriculture, in order to simplify its task, reclassified the types of animals that they would render supervision over. Cats and dogs are animals under this act. Rats and mice are not. Monkeys are animals under this act. Pigs are not. Laboratory research on pigs is not regulated by any law of this land or of this state.
Okay, let Dr. Zola Morgan answer. Then I got to get my question answered because I feel like I'm starting a program here and I don't know where we're coming from. Go ahead.
In point of fact, there are regulations involving all species. That is, the species that are not covered by some of the federal acts are then covered through the U.S. Public Health Service Animal Welfare Policy, which mandates a committee to review all animal research, every species that is used in research. And those committees that are standing at every institute that receives federal funds look at every aspect of every research.
Okay, wait. Now, time, gentlemen, please. Sally, could you help me understand this?
Yes.
Is there a difference between worthwhile research and an animal treated in a humane way and the other, or is it all should be abolished? I need to understand where we're starting from.
The nomenclature, or to even say that research is humane, is a contradiction in terms. There is no humane way of inducing a heart attack in a pig, a dog, a cat, or a rat. There is no humane way of bashing heads of baboons to look at trauma in humans. And furthermore, the real issue here is not, can this research be conducted humanely? The question that we need to address is animal research the appropriate way to look into medical progress and public health? And I, for one, do not believe that that is so. Right here in San Diego, we have not only a prenatal care crisis, but we have a mental health crisis. We have a number of health care crises in this county. And UCSD receives a tremendous amount of money, for instance, to do drug abuse studies, which involve the dipping of drunk hairless mice in PCP. This has absolutely no relationship to the drug abuse problem, nor does it help a person with an abuse problem seek help. There are approximately 200,000 people with severe addiction problems in this county that are unable to get into a rehabilitation center. And I have a problem with that. I don't think that animal research addresses that problem.
But in the case of the experiment that we looked at, in your opinion, needless, inhumane, should not be done, no funds should be spent on it?
No, I don't think so, because epidemiological studies and clinical studies have shown us that heart disease is, for the most part, preventable. And when I say preventable, I'm talking 80 to 90% preventable. Medical intervention does not begin to have 80 to 90% prevention.
Okay, let me ask Dr. Renner to respond to what you just heard.
Well, I think she makes a good point initially when she says that there is a crisis in medicine in San Diego and all across the country. There are medically indigent people that don't have access to care. There's a prenatal problem with getting pregnant women to a doctor. There's a crisis, and I think the medical community is dealing with that. However, to assume that we could take the funds that are allocated to research and allocate them to that issue I think is really not possible. If we were to completely eliminate animals for research, I think you'd be looking at a crisis in medicine that would be absolutely insurmountable. You would be dealing with people with illnesses, whether you want to talk about worsening diabetes, you want to talk about cystic fibrosis, acute leukemia. I can go on and tell you that the amount of sick people that we would have to care for would be absolutely ridiculous compared to what we're dealing with now.
Would you agree, I'm going to take a phone call of questions, but would you agree with the statement that in the past there have been abuses, there have been research projects done where animals suffered needlessly and in a very terrible way for, at best, a dubious result?
Well, I would have to say, as far as a dubious result, I can't make that evaluation, Marty, because I don't know the research project. As far as the...
Well, let me give you one.
Let me just say, Marty.
Very quickly, I'm going to take a phone call.
We, as researchers, are just as appalled at those kinds of situations as is anyone. We have the same kind of concerns about animal welfare, and we find among our own colleagues on the cases when that does occur, we are just as appalled by that and do not want that to happen.
Can we ask him to name somebody?
Yeah.
I want to name somebody that you threw out of the medical fraternity for what he did. Just give me one name out of all the millions.
Okay, let me go till I'm going to take a telephone. Okay, I'm going to take a question now from on the telephone. Are you there?
Yes.
Tell us your name and give us your question, or just give us your question.
Okay, my name is Gene. This is for Mr. Emery, and I'd just like to ask one very pointed question. Mr. Emery, are you saying, and do you believe, that if a member of your family was dying, would you let them because of research that could have saved their life on animals, or a drug that could have been used in animal research that could have been perfected? Is that what you're saying?
Are you talking about my cat polar bear? Or
no, I'm talking about maybe your fine son or a good daughter or your lovely wife.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
I'm not being ridiculous.
Don't try to paint us in a corner. We're not in the corner. They're in the corner. They say, do we want to stop everything? And we all know that it's not going to stop overnight. We're trying to get some decency and kindness into a rotten field for many years.
Okay, I've got a question. Tell me your name.
My name's Dr. Mitchell Malachowski. I'm a research scientist. I'd like to ask a two-part question for Steve Carroll, since he hasn't had a chance to speak yet. I'd like to say first, I think all creatures have the right to live. And so I'd like to ask you, what gives you the right to decide who should live and die, which is basically what the decision you're making to use animals? And secondly, very crudely, and this is not a personal, why should we not use terminally ill people then, using the logic here, to test?
Okay, I'd like to address the last part of that question first. To begin with, there are people with terminal illnesses, there are people with incurable illnesses that are used in research. Research is a multidisciplined profession. It is not all done on animals. They use computers, they use cell cultures, they study human beings, they study past medical records. These are all gears that mesh together into a machinery that works to develop cures and treatments. And we need all of those gears for it to work, and we cannot take away any of those without the machinery definitely suffering.
And the first part of the question, the decision, and who should make the decision of who lives and dies.
Well, I think
that's the type of philosophical question we could do the whole hour and a half on.
Yes, very definitely, and I think our whole world centers around not just mankind, but also animals, that you're preserving yourself, your own family, your own species is top priority for everybody. And
Dr. Sam Parthasarathy, UC San Diego. The gentleman left us with the impression that terrorists strike only when there is an abuse of animals. A couple of years back, many of the mice were stolen from UCSD and left in Marriott Hotel escalator. They were my mice, and I used only dead animals and cells from these animals. How do you justify?
I don't know what he's talking about.
Some mice that were stolen from UCSD and left where? On an escalator?
In a hotel, in the local hotel. And these were mice that were not meant for any experiment. They were used only to collect cells. How do you justify? These are not abused animals.
I think they were better off in the hotel. What kind of a hotel was it?
Marty, could I comment on that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Comment on that? I'm aware of what he is talking of, and it was found that that was a prank done by a fraternity. It had nothing to do with the animal rights movement whatsoever. Those mice were killed in an elevator in a hotel, and they had been stolen from the university several weeks before. It had absolutely nothing to do with the animal rights movement.
Okay, let me go back to telephone. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead, ask your question, please.
Okay. I was kind of wondering, what do you think the experience and knowledge gained from animal research and surgeon practitioners working on animals, how can you relate that to having someone work on a child, anyone else in your family? Can you say that that research is absolutely worthless?
I don't understand your question entirely. Well, go ahead. Try one more time.
Well, meaning the things that are learned from animals,
yes.
How can they just go ahead and do that on people and with no practical knowledge on what's happening?
I think.
All right, and this is a very old issue that the medical profession does research on animals that the application then goes to people, and like thalidomide, we have horrible results.
I think I can address that question.
Well, no, let Dr. Breslau do it first.